I'm broken, because that's what happens when I go four-wheeling. I break and I become a cameraman. I mean, you know, somebody's got to be the loser. After some testing with the Stuburban, we've noticed a couple things that needed to be done. For one, bigger tires, which we are currently working on. Two, the rear tires hit the coilovers when we're getting all nice and twisty on the rocks. So what we're going to try to do to alleviate that is take off the Dana 70 hubs and swap them out for single rear wheel 14 bolt hubs and see if that's going to work. According to the intrawebs, this will work, but I didn't find anywhere specifically that talks about the gears. These hubs are off an 03 2500 HD. Let's see if they fit on there the same.
After a bit of part swapping, we did get the hub situated. Here's a visual of what we had. On the left is a Dana 70 HD hub. Notice how far the axle mount surface sticks out from the wheel mounting surface. In the center we have a disc brake 14 bolt single rear wheel hub. This one is slightly shorter than the other two and uses metric studs. While it does fit on the axle, there's a little bit of play in and out, so we won't be using it. On the right we have a drum brake 14 bolt single rear wheel hub. The wheel mount surface is about 2 inches further out than the 70 hub, which gives us a track width about 4 inches wider than before, matching the front almost perfectly. All three of the hubs use the same bearings and races, although the disc brake hub uses a different rear seal which doesn't fit over the axle properly. If you have a Dana 70 HD dually axle, the drum brake 14 bolt hub is the one you're going to want to use for the conversion.
So the events at Chile Challenge did teach me one thing. If you're going to drive by Braille, parts can get damaged. So we have two options. We can either drive better, or we could just move the parts that get damaged. We decided to go with the high steer setup instead of the factory style. I had the tie rod down at the stock steering arms. And that's how I got bent, you know. That's it. Had nothing to do with my driving. But in order to change that, in order to go to high steer, because of the way I had designed this before, I had to relocate the panhard bracket. In order to move the panhard bracket, I had to move the coilover mounts. In order to move the coilover mounts, I had to move the bump stop mounts. So it's a lot of cutting and welding and just redoing the whole front end that was just done. No big deal. Because if there's one thing we've learned here at the Reckless Wrench, welds aren't permanent when you have a plasma cutter. When you're going to put together a Heim steering setup, you don't just get yourself some tube and some Heims and say, okay, I got it, and throw it together. I mean, you could, sure. Nothing wrong with it. That's what I did the first time. There are some other things you want to consider. Specifically, 4 things. Misalignment spacers.
The use and the type of spacer you use will vary depending on your application. If the Heim requires freedom of movement side to side or in a twisting motion, you're going to need a spacer. Let's use the steering as an example. If you mount the Heim flat, you have limited movement. This will work for a tie rod, but it's not going to work for a drag link because you're going to need more freedom of movement. Using a standard misalignment spacer is going to allow more movement. The issue with the standard spacer is that it will only rotate until the Heim hits the spacer. This can be an issue if you need more movement than the standard spacer will allow. That's where your high misalignment spacer comes into play. It allows a little more movement than your standard spacer. If you're unsure of which one you need, the high misalignment spacer is a safe bet. If you use a standard spacer where a high misalignment spacer is needed, you could damage both the spacer and the joint itself. Now let's not forget your safety washer and your safety high misalignment spacer. The purpose of these are to prevent the components from detaching from the vehicle in the event the joint were to fail. While you may have a broken Heim joint that'll need to be replaced, the components will remain together just enough for you to get it to a safe place and make the required repairs, rather than leaving you stranded wishing you had done it right the first time.
Well, that about covers it. I can't think of anything else that would make my steering any better than it is now. Thanks to Barnes for all the parts, and you know the deal. Like, comment. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Right meow. And until next time, stay reckless.